we explore the things that inspire us, connect us, and the magic we find along the way. I'm Matthew Dean, and today's very special guest is a very talented actor, writer, and producer who's no stranger to creating magic, Sergio Osuna. Born and raised in Mexico, he moved to Vancouver with a clear dream to become an actor. He trained at the Vancouver Film School and has since built a versatile career across film and television. You'll recognize him as Rafe from the final 4 seasons of The Magician, as well as from recurring roles as Glen on Colony and Hector on Dirk Gently's Holistic Detectives. He's also appeared in Netflix's Slumberland alongside Jason Momoa, DC Legends of Tomorrow, as Salvador Dalí, Van Helsing, Get Shorty, Are You Afraid of the Dark, and a number of Hallmark movies. In addition to acting, Sergio has worked as a writer and producer and nominated for a UBCP Actor Award for Best Emerging Performer. I'm very excited to welcome Sergio Osuna. Sergio, thank you for being on.
My God, thank you for having me. I think I'm going to clip that and use it as my ringtone. It's so nice. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Of course. It's always amazing kind of reflecting back what someone has done and what they've accomplished, because it's so easy to forget the highlights and the good moments and how much you've actually achieved in your life, when sometimes there's moments that are not so great feeling, and then it's easy to forget those other moments.
I know, yeah, when you put it like that, everything that you just said, I'm like, well, he sounds great. And there's been weeks where I just think, well, I'm not doing anything. What am I doing with my life? But yeah, thank you. Thank you for that reminder that, okay, that's something there in the past, I guess.
Yeah, a lot,
Yeah.
actually. And it's amazing that you knew also from a young age what you wanted to do. So I'm curious, what inspired you to get into entertainment?
I knew from a very young age, like you said, and I came back to Vancouver from Mexico, visiting my family, and I have Canadian nieces and nephews here, but I have a niece and a nephew, like a Mexican niece and a nephew over there. And then I think my niece and my nephew also asked me, like, how did you know? They're young, so how did you know that you wanted to be an actor, or when did you know? And I told them that that's all I knew. Like, there was never a question for me to do something else. There was no plan B. There was always something that told me that I wanted to do it, that I wanted to kind of express myself in that way. Yeah, and show people what they look like. I feel that it's going to sound weird, but it's a powerful thing to do, to make people feel something, whatever that might be. If it's a good thing, it's a bad thing, you make them feel something. And I like that. I like that, the pleasure, and I'm grateful to sometimes be able to do that to other people, to make them feel a certain way. But yeah, since I was 5, I knew uh, 2 things in life: that I wasn't stupid, and that nobody was going to, pull something on me, and that I wanted to be an actor. I honestly, since I can remember, I wanted to be an actor.
Which I think
Yeah.
is so important, because it shows a real sense of self and knowing who you are, which I think is also very important in this industry. I think to succeed, you have to know who you are, because you're going to be faced with a lot of times and people that you meet who are going to try to tell you who you are. And I feel like it's hard sometimes to navigate that.
100%. And I think that this industry is full of those people that are going to say no before they say yes. And I also think that, growing up and like you said, Mexico in Hermosillo, Sonora. Sorry, there's sirens here. I don't know if you can hear
I
that.
can't hear it.
Okay. So in Hermosillo, Sonora, the places where you can go and act were a little bit limited. You either had to go to Mexico City or go somewhere else. Yeah, I think there's more now. I mean, there's the University of Sonora was there, and I could have done that, but I connected a little bit more with other types of, like, film and television more than theater at the time. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a big leap of faith too, I think, in those early years, moving and trying to pursue this dream. So I'm curious, what was that moment and taking that big leap of faith, and what kept you going when things would feel uncertain?
Delusion. I think that a big part of it is, and I keep thinking about it, even recently, because, I'm older now, but to think of all the things that I did when I was younger, the fearlessness that I would have, the not thinking about it twice, to just be okay with the idea of just leaping and going for it I feel like, and I'm in a stage in life now that I'm going back to that. I'm going back to thinking, who cares? And let's go for it. We only live once. And I feel like when I was younger, I would feel that way. There's a period and in between where I used to think that, or care rather what other people think, or think about the possibility of not getting a no for an answer and all these things. But when you're young, you don't think about those things. You just think, let's just go for it. Let's just, of course it's going to happen. Of course it's going to, it's going to be, why not? Why wouldn't it? So I think delusion was a big part of it, and just ambition to go and find something that would make me happier. Yeah. I think that was a big part of it. And trying to kind of connect to specifically with acting and the industry, try to connect with an industry that I could relate to, or the type of characters that I want to portray, rather than something that I just don't. Because growing up in Mexico, a lot of the stories that were told there from my community, we were the people weren't laughing with us, they were laughing at us, and I didn't want to be a part of that. I just wanted to be a part of a more inclusive industry. So yeah, I think yeah.
Yeah, which is huge and I think very important and still ever changing, and still a lot of more stories need to be told, a lot more roles need to be created. There needs to be more of those spaces, and it's always great when people like you and others I see are creating those spaces and hoping open the door for the person behind them. And I think it's very vital in this industry.
Yeah.
I think it's more rare than it needs to be. I think it has to happen a lot more, and I can't wait where for the day where there's a lot more of those stories told, and we get those spaces in movies, TV, Broadway, everywhere. It's unfortunate
Yeah.
when I see some Broadway shows that are telling those stories and they don't last too long. And the question is, was it marketing? Was it this? Was it that? And because it's a good story, it's great performances, and so we need more of that. And I think it's important that you knew also what you wanted, which again I think goes back to knowing who you are. And it isn't always easy, like you were saying. I think there's a lot of no's, there's a lot of closed doors, there's a lot of things that seem like a yes and then don't end up working out. And so I'm wondering, when those moments pop up, how do you keep your fire lit to keep going?
It To be 100% honest with you, it is difficult. It is very difficult sometimes. I think that I have maybe one or two mental breakdowns, controlled mental breakdowns a year. I think they're becoming less and less now, but I often think about maybe twice a year, what am I doing? Am I doing the right thing? Is there something that is not clicking? I don't know. Question everything if I made the right choices. But then something would happen that would, solidify that choice that I made a long time ago to pursue this, and I would keep going. And not gonna lie, the pandemic and after 2020, when the industry for us, for actors, changed radically, talking about the audition process, it's become a little bit more difficult to deal with that. I think the lack of connection or physical connection with and the audition process, not being able to go into the room, has been very difficult to adapt. And sadly, I don't know if we're going to go back to that again. But yeah, I think the couple of mental breakdowns every year, and then plus after the pandemic, to figure out that it's going to change, it's changed and it may not go back to the way it was. Those are the most difficult parts. I had an audition for a play a couple of weeks ago, I think. I didn't book it. I don't want to talk about it. Just kidding. It was a really good, I really wanted to do this play. It's such a good play. Anyways, the point is that it was in person, and it was like, I don't know, I felt so good. It was so much, but I felt so alive, like to have the feedback, to have the collaboration, the back and forth to, okay, what would you like me to do? This is my proposal. This is what I'm offering. Do you want me to change something? Can we modify? Can we collaborate? It just felt like amazing and insane. And yeah, it's sad that we're not there anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting balance where we have technology that is supposed to connect us more, but it's a double-edged sword. In some ways it can, and then in other methods it may put more distance and we lose some of that personal touch. So it's a strange feeling. And I think also the other side of it, the couple of breakdowns a year, is very normal. I'm hearing from a lot of people that those phases are normal, and you can't reject it either. You kind of just have to sit for a moment, let yourself feel it, process it, and then you can get back up. But I think it's normal even for me in doing this podcast where I go through those phases, and sometimes I just need a week or two to just kind of stop, decompress, ask myself the same questions you're asking yourself, and then I'm like, all right, let me go back, let me do it again. And that's
Yes.
hard to get back up.
Yes. And it's exactly what you're saying. It's inevitable. Those moments are going to come, but you have to realize that you're doing it for a bigger reason, I feel, because inevitably, and this is true, inevitably you're going to connect with someone and someone is going to look at you and listen to what you're saying and you're going to touch them in a way that is going to change them a little bit, even if it's a little bit. And then that's it. You've done your job. And I live for those connections, I think. Yeah.
Same. I think it's so important to know that. And because I feel like in any creative industry, sometimes it could feel like a very lonely journey. You're kind of shouting out into the silence. And it's
Yes.
good to remember there are other people out there. You will find your people. You got to go find them.
Yes. And I used to think that to be an actor would be to change yourself so much into a role that you're unrecognizable. And I think that's part of it. But I find now that I have to put something of myself into the role because otherwise it will be not me and it won't be mine. I have has a unique background. So if you put your background into it, it's gonna be magical. It's gonna be great. Like it I always say that I cannot not make my characters a little bit Mexican because it's impossible. Like I'm full Mexican. Oh yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Well, I think that's part of what makes your characters so sincere and like genuine, and you feel it. I think those are the best kind of performances. And one of the fan favorites is Rafe from The Magicians, which is a completely magical world and over the top moments and working with a sloth. So I'm very curious, what was the most fun or challenging part of playing someone from Fillory?
It was not, I don't think it was challenging. I think it was just fun because there were very little rules. Like it didn't make any sense. It was fine that it didn't make any sense. So you could literally do anything and go anywhere in the story and the way that you build that you do the character. Even from the get-go, from the audition, I thought it was such a fun experience. Again, it was a director producer session. And yeah, I did the scene like maybe 2 3 times and it was great. It was so fun. And it was a scene with a Sassy. I mean, Abigail, but Sassy was her real name. The first one, because there were two slots. The first one passed away, I think from season, I think 3 to 4, if I recall correctly. But Sassy, yeah, I feel like I had a bigger connection with Sassy than the second one. I can't even remember the second one's name really. But yeah, for the audition, I had to do the scene with Abigail, and yeah, it was fun to think about communicating with an animal. It would be, I would love to do that in real life, just put myself in that position. And I remember asking the producers in the audition, just because I was curious, is it going to be a CGI sloth or is it going to be a real sloth? And they're like, no, 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 it's a real sloth. And I was like, oh, if I book it, that'll be great. That'll be amazing. And then, yeah, I booked it and yeah, it was great. Yeah.
It's so fun too, because I think they became standout characters in their moments where like every moment became like an iconic, funny, like one liner or something that lives in people's memories. So I have to ask what probably every Magicians fan is wondering, where do you think Rafe and Abigail are up to in 2026?
I think they have, and I'm just like improvising here because I haven't thought about it. I think they would have a very fulfilled relationship. It would be an open relationship because I don't think that Abigail would like to just stay put. I think she very slowly would like to move from one place to the next. And then I think that Rafe would be, very good sub and he would be like whatever Abigail wants. But I think they would be maybe a little bit higher in the power status in Fillory. Or not Fillory because we were sucked into this different world. But yeah, I think they moved up together. And maybe it's not just I'm working for her. It's like we're working together at this time. Yeah. And yeah, I have to emphasize the kinkiness of the
Yeah.
relationship because that was always something that that I thought about.
Well, what's also funny about that answer is that because it's this whole new world at the end of the series, it's like you guys get to decide things and like have that world be what you want it to be. So there are no rules.
Yes. No rules. Yeah.
Well, another character you played was in Colony, which is Glen, who's often described as a morally gray character. And so I'm curious how it was to portray a character like that.
It was great. It was a very straightforward, kind of like a straight on paper. Glenn was very straightforward. But again, for the audition, I went to the audition and it was a director producer session again. And I've worked with the director before. And and I didn't want to do like a very straightforward character, so I made interesting choices there that would something behind, like behind the eyes, or something like a hidden agenda that Glenn would have. And yeah, it was a great show to be a part of because I would always admire Wayne Brady, and I played his assistant. I just cannot, the way that he works, and his talent is insane, and he's an incredible singer too, and he comes up with like amazing things on the spot. So to be and work with him was amazing. So yeah, it was such a great opportunity and a great character to play. I would play him in a very loyal way, but with a little bit of a, we don't know who he is fully. Yeah.
Which is so interesting to do, to take a character that could come off simple on paper, but you can find all these layers to him and create this backstory and portray him in a way where to the audience there's so much more. I feel like that's where people start writing fan fiction and headcanons and coming up with ideas of what this person is like, which is a testament to what you're doing with the character. So I think that's why these characters kind of last in people's memories.
Yeah, and I think it's a more relatable choice as an actor if you make it, uh, because everybody in real life is either hiding something or going through something that we don't know about, and that sort of humanity is what connects us. So if you, as an actor, make a choice that there's something behind their choices, then whatever that decision it is that you made will connect with an audience. And it just makes them a little bit more interesting, I think. Yeah.
Completely. And I think that's partly why also in different fantasy genres and magical realms and all these things, it all comes down to what's the human story here? Like what are people going to connect with? And you've been in a wide range of genres, fantasy, sci-fi, Hallmark romances. So how do you shift gears between those worlds? And is there a type of role that feels more natural than others?
The shift in between the genres is, I find, I love it because there's like a fine tune. It's like an oven. You dial it up or you dial it down depending on what is required of the genre. But I'll also have to say that if it's well written, it's is there for you as an actor. Is You don't really have to do much. You just have to be honest with the material. It's so you realize how big of a part, if not the biggest part, is the writing. And the my favorite genre is comedy because I love it. I find it easy. I think it's like math. And if you feel the rhythm, then you can, play within it. And yeah, I love comedy. I don't get nervous whenever I get comedy auditions. I just get super excited about it. I'm not afraid of acting crazy or a fool or, whatever. I just think it's fun. But yeah, comedy is the thing that I like the most. Yeah.
And I feel like it comes naturally because even in the more serious genres, or I feel like magicians rode the line, but you take those moments and you own them. I think, like you said, embracing those moments, not being afraid of looking whatever way, is kind of what makes it so much fun and makes you like hit those marks where it comes off funny.
Yes. Yes, I agree. And I think that you're right about the magicians because it was a fine line and it was so well done. Again, talking about the writing, it was so well done. And again, it's going back to real life. I cannot go through life without laughing about things, even if it's something tragic. I have to. I'm the type of person that I have to find the humor eventually about it. Otherwise, this is not worth living, I think. Yeah.
Agreed. I think even in in some of the other productions you've done, I'm thinking about working on Slumberland and that having funny moments within this big magical world and the retelling of Little Nemo. But I can imagine that production was huge and like a different kind of scale. And so I'm curious what your experience was on that.
It was a great experience. I mean, that was was it the first? I think it was the first role that I booked after the pandemic. So everything was done remotely. And we shot it in Toronto too. So, and it was pushed because of the pandemic as well. So yeah, everything was bizarre in the best way possible. The audition, my agent at the time sent me the audition, and the character breakdown said, and I think he said at the time, don't read too much into it. I just think you do a great job. I was like, okay. So I read it, and the character description was extremely overweight, middle age. I think it said ugly or something like that. Man, I'm like, okay, I guess I need new headshots or something. But then I just did it, whatever. And then the callback was great too. And it was great and it was fun. And then when I booked it, I got to go to the wardrobe fittings for that were insane because of the suit that I wore was tailored to me. I don't know if I could have asked for it. I would have asked for it. Probably couldn't fit it anymore. But I don't mind. And then we shot it in Toronto and we needed to travel there and quarantine for a bit and then shoot and then fly back and whatever. The whole experience was really, really, really good to work in this world that they've created where most of it is CGI was, yeah, again, bizarre in the best way possible because it allows you to create it in your imagination and play within it. And just to work with Jason Momoa was also very good, very fun. He's like a great, fearless actor kid. His energy is like a big kid. It's so good. I'm sad that at one point it wasn't in the script, but he thought that it would be funny, I think, to take he had white gloves in his pocket to take his gloves out of the pocket and just slap me with the gloves. And I was just, go for it. I mean, I'll do it. No, if it's funny, I'll do it. So he started doing that and I loved it and it was great. And then he built on it and I'm going to slap you and then slap you back. And I was like, great. So he kept slapping me and it was great, but they didn't leave it in the film, but I would love to watch that footage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was great. It's an overall great experience to be a part of that. Like you said, the scope of it and the magnitude of it was pretty big. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's interesting how you said it was in some ways helpful to kind of work with all the CG and kind of imagine things for yourself because I think depending on the person, sometimes that's helpful and sometimes that's a struggle for some people. And I feel like that's a mix between green screen, CG, all those things. And then I'm also thinking now of when you're doing guest spots. I mean, you've done a bunch in different shows, Legends in Tomorrow, and Helsing, at Shorty, Are You Afraid of the Dark? And I'm wondering in those short amount of time that you have to do an episode or two, like how do you approach that in terms of leaving your mark and making an impression on what you're supposed to do?
I think well, it took me a little bit to realize what the position is of the job, depending on the role. Like if the world it's like, for example, for the magicians coming in and being a part of it, they allowed me to kind of like grow the role a little bit with the help of the writers, obviously, and the producers and the directors and everything. But there's times where the role, just comes in with one episode to move the story along and to serve a purpose. So it took me a little bit as an actor to figure out what that was. And for example, for Legends of Tomorrow, to play someone that, he's known, Salvador Dalí, he's known, very well known, but to be told that I could do something with it to make it a little bit funnier, say less. And to play within that was a big part. But it was just one episode, and I served the purpose of that specific story that was told there. Same for Van Helsing. And it's kind of like you build your own world that exists within this world that you're a part of for just that one episode, because it has to be a fully fleshed character that exist in there. You have to be able to fit into the story, not stand out too much that it could become something else or like its own spin-off, but make it believable, honest, fully fleshed out and formed, that it fits into the skeleton of the story. Yeah, it's a fine line, and it's a good exercise to do as an actor to figure out how to serve a story and the purpose of a story for it to be to move along. Yeah,
I think part of the beauty also in how you described it is, as you were talking about it, I was thinking this relates to just life and other humans in general, where sometimes we meet people and they're not meant to be a permanent fixture in our lives or to be like a main cast member in our life, but to move our story along, or vice versa. We may be playing that role for someone else. And I'm thinking also just in this industry, or if you're a creative, an artist, a dreamer, any of those things, that can be really important sometimes, I think, and the importance of community. And so I'm wondering for you, what is the importance of community and finding your people?
a big importance. I think that because I'm in Vancouver, this is my home base. And the community is very welcoming here. The industry is very welcoming here, and everybody knows each other. And it's honestly is very, it's lovely. But then within that, just to build as an immigrant to come here to Canada and try to find my people, I feel like I gravitated towards finding other immigrants too. So my closest friends are from other places, and I love it. I think a big sense of community is very important in your work life and also in your personal life. I can only speak about it as an immigrant because it makes you feel like home when home is so far away. And it grounds you. It makes you feel like if everything else falls apart, if you don't succeed or don't get something that you're really wanting to, but you have this community, you have all these friends, you'll be okay, and everything will be okay. It's like a safety blanket that it's ever covering you. You know, yeah. Community is a big important part of this industry and life in general for me.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people describe it as having anchors in your life, which is super important, I think, in life in general, but I think especially in this industry where you need that, you need your home base.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
And you've also worked as a writer and producer on a lot of projects, including many that have to deal with social issues. How has stepping behind the camera changed the way you approach acting or the kinds of stories you want to tell?
I think it all started with I've written here and there, but nothing was ever like made or anything. And then it all started in 2022 after the pandemic when I entered the Nosotros, the Ya Tu Sabes monologue festival. And I wrote this monologue and it became a finalist. And then we got to go to LA and shoot it. Um, that was a changing experience for me because one, it was with the Latin community that, I didn't know that I was craving that aspect. And that's one. And two, the importance or the weight of writing something, putting words on paper, and then getting to set and seeing that the set tech department built everything that I wrote, and the actor that I was working with was, portraying those words that I wrote was, um, uh, I think it was, yeah, it was unbelievable. I can't even explain it. It was so good. Yeah, to step behind the camera is an interesting experience. I don't know what I like best. I think it's equal. I think acting I like more, but it's a different kind of creativity that comes out, and yeah, it's it's yeah, it's a different kind of love that I'm growing to love more and more with time.
I feel like it also gets you to kind of flex different muscles and interest and kind of discover what you're capable of, which I keep finding through a lot of interviews and just talking to people that there's a lot of things that people end up doing that they never imagined they'd be doing. And then they give it a try and they're like, I'm actually capable of this. I can do this. So I gotta imagine that was your moment coming onto that set and seeing things.
Exactly. Like if you we spoke about earlier what made me start this and go for it. It was a little bit of delusion, but with that delusion comes when I was younger, by this point I would have had in my mind with the goals that I had and all the ideas that I have, I would have had 5 Oscars by now. EGOT the hell out of everything. So you have to adapt with the industry. You have to adapt with what the opportunities that are presented to you, what you make of them, and yeah, the connections that you build. So if the industry is telling you, you should try maybe writing, you should try producing or directing or doing something else, try to find the joy and love in that, not just stick to one little thing, because I think that if you adapt, it's going to be easier for you to have longevity, one, and two, a little bit more of a, I guess, happiness with this industry, I feel. Yeah.
Completely agree. And, you talking about kind of discovering the different things that you could do and be capable of and trying new things, I think is part of kind of your journey. I mean, you've also been nominated for awards and have done different types of work. And so I'm curious now, what does success look like for you at this stage in your career?
Interesting. I think that success, that's a great question. I used to think that success was booking a lot of things in terms of, the industry and job and work. I'm much more focused now on living a fulfilled life, personal life, because I know the importance that has in my work. I know that if I live the fullest life that I can, that's going to translate into my work, and that is going to be fulfilling and successful, if that makes any sense. I think that success is honesty and truthfulness in the art and the work that I do. I think that's success. Yeah, I don't know. That's a very interesting question. Thank you for putting me on the spot.
No, but I think that's a beautiful answer too, because it shows the process that you went through to come to that place and to see things from that perspective. I had a guest who gave me this like soundbite that I always think about now, and it's define success before you get there, and how important that can be, because I feel like anyone who's trying to do something, I think if we're not clearly defining what that is and in a way that feels fulfilling to our soul, then we may always be chasing the next thing and never feeling quite satisfied. And I think defining that and knowing what that is and knowing who you are and what you want to be is super important. So I think finding that fulfillment, like you were saying, is the most important part.
I agree, and I love that. I love what you said. It has to mean something to you. I feel everything that you do, it has to mean something to you. You can't just do something for the sake of doing it. And I think when I was younger, I would do that a lot, but now it's not that. Everything is meaningful. Every single, I mean, working with my agent now, every single character that I audition for, I really, really, truly connect. And before, I was doing some things that I don't know, didn't connect with or whatever, but I feel like I can put a lot of thought and love into it. Maybe it's also because I'm older, and maybe it's also because, like I said, I'm working on living a fulfilled life and telling stories that I really want to tell. Like writing a couple of things that I really wanna tell, personal things. Yeah, because I know that even if I connect with one person, then that will be worthwhile. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think those kind of stories are important and they need to be told. So connecting with it on that level, I think kind of brings out the best performance. It brings out more of your heart and sincereness in what you're doing, whether it's writing or acting. And I know you have a couple of projects coming up, one of them being called Wash the Spider Out. It's currently in post production. What can you share about the film and what the filming of it was like?
Honestly, it was another one of those things. Like I spoke about the play earlier. This one I really wanted. I really wanted. And I had to audition twice for the, not that there's anything wrong with that. I just had to do it twice with notes from the director. And it, it was great. And then I booked it. And the whole process of shooting it was amazing because the there was a lot of rehearsal. There was a big rehearsal process, and the shooting was done over 2 weekends. And it was night shoots, and it was in one location. And the story is about um a prodigal son returning to his hometown and his house, where his father has passed away, and his mom is now um um involved with someone. Anyways, I don't want to, because I don't know what's out there. But and It's a comedy. It's a dark comedy, very quick, very funny. It all happens in one night. And the shooting process was great because we shot with, at one point, we had 4 cameras, I believe. So it was all like a play in a house. So there would be scenes that would go from one room to the next and they would follow us. So it was a lot of like rehearsing and blocking those scenes before we started shooting. So there were scenes that were maybe 20 pages. So we would go from one to the next, to the next, to the next rooms. And then that's it. And then we would cut and we would do it again. And it was so much fun. And it was, I don't know, yeah, I was doing like a play in on film and in a house room full of friends. And like I said, the story is comedy, and the character that I'm playing, he such um I want to say an asshole or a brat or like a horrible person, but it's so much fun. And he's very funny. I find him very funny. So yeah, I cannot wait. I cannot wait for it to see it, to watch it, and to because I also am a big fan of everybody who worked there, and I want to see what they did too. It was such an amazing experience.
Well, I'm excited to see it, not only because, like you said, the way it was filmed, which sounds amazing, doing these long takes and cuts and the camera following, because I feel like those are always so much, they're so mind blowing when you see them on screen, or it's like, how did they like get this done? How did they go for so long? And I can imagine that process being a lot of fun. But then also hearing about your character, I think it's been said a lot, but like the kindest people play the best assholes. And so I think in comedy that really works. So I'm excited to see that character.
Yeah, he's such a like an egocentric maniac, and it was so much fun to play around and to work with our director David and Craig, the writer, and to talk about the story and talk about the background of the character and why is he this way. But I wanted to make him like likable too, but it's very hard to make him likable. But I don't know. It was such a big, fun experience. Yeah, the shooting of it was amazing. Was great.
When could we expect, maybe around like fall next year?
Last I heard was an email from the director, and he said that fall in the fall. So yeah, they're just doing some. I think they're gonna start with the or finish off with the sound or something. I think. Oh yeah. So the fall.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to be on the lookout. I cannot wait to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also looking ahead, I'm thinking of, are there any genres, collaborators, or types of stories you really want to tell or be part of, whether it's acting, writing, or producing?
I think a lot of the genres that I want to be a part of now is a lot of comedy or I would say dramedy because I feel that my life is a dramedy and everyone's life should be a dramedy. There should be like really, really funny moments with some dramatic moments, but then go back into the funny. So yeah, I think that would be the most honest and relatable things that the a genre that I would want to be a part of. Yeah.
I think it's also one of the most sincere genres too, because it plays in different parts of our soul. So it's a very exciting kind of genre to explore in, I think, and gives a lot of freedom to things. And I know that you've been no stranger to those different types of genres in your career. So to know that you've been playing on that and now want to really hone in on that even more, I think is really exciting. And I think it's part of the magic of your career and the characters you played and shared with others. So that leaves me with my final two questions, which is, where do you find magic in the world? And how do you hope to create magic for others?
I find magic in the world through art, I think. I think that art tells a story of whether it's political, whether it's cultural, whether it's just emotional. It tells a story that makes you connect with someone or something, and I think that's magical. To I think something that you said now that right now we live in a world that we have all this technology that makes us connect easier with people from all over the place. Connection to connect with someone through art is the most pure connection I think that you could have. It needs no language or, there's no barriers there. So I think that magic is found through art for me. And then what was the second part?
How do you hope to create magic for others?
I think that, again, because I'm older, I want to do things as an artist. I want to do things that that are truthful to me and honest to me and my background. I want to create more Latin stories. I want to create more gay stories. I want to create more queer stories that people can connect to. Um, yeah, and I think that's how I would like to create magic in the world. Also, to make someone laugh. To make someone laugh, it's like a drug to me. Maybe like just a little laugh, just a little laugh. It's enough. But yeah, comedy and to create more Latin gay shit.
Yeah. Well, I think you've been very successful in creating that magic, and I know you're going to continue to. I think you continuously discover what you're capable of and keep adding different talents to yourself and sharing it with the world, which thank you for sharing that magic because it really is a gift. And I feel like it's a special thing to be able to tell those stories and connect with others and have people feel seen. And it's very clear that you are where you are in your career because people feel seen and they connect with what you put out there. So thank you for sharing your magic and being a magic maker. And I usually end with asking my guests to say their name and telling everyone out there to go and do some magic. But because you're from the Magicians, I'm going to ask you to do what Summer did, which is say your name and then tell everyone out there to do some goddamn magic.
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Sergio Osuna, and please go out there and do some goddamn magic.
You heard him. Till next time, everybody.